Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. And the theme of our podcast is going to be the fight for respect. The fight for respect. And that is really going to be the storyline in 2025. I saw rankings that came out the other day, and they were ranking the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and obviously it's a media member's opinion, so that's their choice. And it was just laughable to me, with all the respect that Patrick Graham has around the league, where they had him. And then I've seen rankings with Pete Carroll, and now people coming out going after Geno Smith, and at the end of the day, the only way you get respect in Moss is to win. That's the name of the game. That's the whole story. And I have said numerous times, and I stand by it, this is not a Super Bowl team. They could sneak in to the playoffs. I think that is absolutely possible. I don't think it's probable, because I don't think they'll get in with 9 wins. But I do think it's possible. But at the end of the day, it's not a team that's going to go win a Super Bowl. So when you start to begin to set goals, now, in fairness, I've been influenced greatly by Nick Saban on this, on how you go and you approach a season. Well, there's phase one, which is soon as the season's over, you begin getting ready for the next year, getting healthy, getting your surgeries, working on particular parts. Maybe you wanted to lose a little bit weight. Maybe you wanted to gain weight. Maybe you wanted to bulk up. Phase two is literally in college, spring football, and NFL. This is going to be your OTAs and your mini camps. Excuse me. Phase three is right now getting ready for training camp. So you're trying to rest, get healthy, but you're also working on things. Phase four is going to be your training camp, and then 5 is the season, then playoffs, etc. So you want to win each phase. Now, I've said this numerous times, you don't win Super Bowls in March. You don't win them in April. You don't win them in May, June, and July. You don't even win them in August, but you can lose them. And so you literally have to approach the season in winning the concept, winning that phase. So when you look at the season, and maybe you're like my wife, and you can't separate this team and say, no, I don't think they're going to miss out on a Super Bowl. She's completely convinced they're going, and that's great. That's her choice. And judging by a lot of people's email, a lot of people feel that way. Not everybody, but a lot. But when you're me and you're not a fan and you live in Realville, I then get to back up and say, okay, so what are realistic expectations? I think getting to 9 wins, getting to over 500. You have a franchise whose motto is just win. So that's where you go. All right? I can live with that. Now, the other thing I think that you're looking for is 9 wins, but I think you're also looking for, you want respect. You want to be that ball club that when you play the Raiders, you feel it. I will never forget this one time. I was sitting in Matt Millen's office when he was the general manager of the Detroit Lions. And we were in his office and we were talking. We had multiple talks about the Raiders. And he loves the Raiders. It's part of his fabric of who he is. And he talked about one of the things that had been instilled in him with the Raiders, and he said it just helped him in every phase of his career, was you may lose some games when you're the Raiders, but everyone's going to feel it and know that they played you. It was an element of toughness. It was an element of, we're going to play you. We're going to make a coaching decision that outsmarts you. And I think the Raiders, 9 wins is going to help them to garner respect. But it's also going to be in other ways of how they handle their business, how they take care of things. If you go back and look at the second half of 23, they were the least penalized team in the NFL. There was a ton of respect. The discipline disappeared in 2024. Embarrassingly disappeared, may I add. That was on the entire team, that lack of discipline. I'm not minimizing anyone in that building. It was on the entire team. And so respect that they gained in 23, they lost. And it was a terrible look. It was a terrible appearance. It was a terrible way to look at the Raiders and see how are they going to approach things? How are they going to do things? Man, you came out of 23 and things looked good, and then literally it collapsed. And the Raiders just need to see 2025 as absolutely 9 wins is where they got to get to. But there's got to be an element of they've got to get respect back. They've got to earn respect back. And I'm going to say something that's going to be a little bit controversial, and it's not meant to be that. Those of you who've watched my podcast for a long time know this is not how I roll. I don't look for the big take that's going to ooh and ah people. But I do think this is going to be important. You know, we've heard about from Raiders the entire time they've been in Vegas. Well, we need everybody there. We need everybody there. Got to show up and show out. Be there. Be there. The team has not lived up to the fan base. I'm sorry. They haven't. And do I think that's changed? I do. I do. But now I think there's an element of forget the NFL. I think this franchise needs to get the respect of their people, their fan base back. I know a lot of people that say, I love the Raiders, Hondo. I'm just frustrated with them. We're in a separation. Or I hear a lot of people say, Hondo, I want Pete to do good. I'm excited to have Gino. But man, every time I get my hopes up, this franchise hurts me. I get that. I wish, and I won't do it, but I could sit here and do a lengthy broadcast with you on fans whose kids don't want to be Raider fans. Dad, mom, they don't win, whatever. It's always drama. I remember when I came to cover the Raiders, a very famous media person, still in the media today, that covers the NFL nationally, literally texted me and said, "Good luck." And I said, "What for?" "It's the Raiders." And they said, "There is always drama around that team." And I kind of laughed. I thought they were kidding. And when Josh McDaniels got fired, they texted me and said, "Told you." And it's just been one lick after another. At some point now, it's got to be a fight for respect. And that respect is, yes, you want to get respect from other franchises. Yes, you want to get respect from other people. But I'm sorry, this franchise owes a debt to its fan base. All they've told them is show up, show up, show up. And I don't blame Pete Carroll for saying show up, show up. We need you. Got to give us our home field advantage. This isn't on Pete, and I don't blame him for saying it. But this is on a franchise that has woefully underperformed for 2 decades. Your fans deserve it now. They deserve it now. They've earned it. This franchise needs to show them a little bit of love. You know what? You're in Vegas. There's always going to be a contingent of other teams' fans there because people sell their tickets. But I know a lot of people that are Raider fans that sell them, and because it's expensive. And they're like, listen, if they're not going to win, I'm going to sell them. I know one family that's wealthy. And they sell their tickets to usually 3 or 4 games a year and more than pay for their season tickets, and they've paid off their PSL. And they're like, we're not going to apologize. When the team's not competitive, when they suck, when they're terrible, when there's bad coaching decisions, lack of discipline, I'm going to sell those seats. You want me? You don't want me to sell them to Kansas City fans? Great, but your Raider fans aren't paying the price. And you know what? I'm sorry. I realize this is not going to be a popular opinion, but how do you blame them? Well, you're not a real Raider fan. I don't think that anyone is qualified to say that. If somebody's paying the season ticket price and after 2 decades they just had enough and they're trying to recoup some of their costs, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with that. And again, I'm not mad at Pete. I think Pete should be imploring that fan base to show up. I think Pete should be pushing that fan base to show up. But the Raiders owe it to their fans for them to show up. Listen, Geno Smith doesn't have to go throw for 5,000 yards and Ashton run for 2,500 and Max get 20 sacks for this fan base to be excited again. No, sir. But they have to be disciplined. They have to be well coached. And when they play other teams, they got to feel it. This is still a roster with a lot of holes. Most of those are because of youth, but there are some positions where there are holes. And so, as much as I think this franchise owes the fan base for woefully underperforming, I think the franchise owes the current coaches and players, they haven't been here 20 years. And so I think you have to set fair expectations. I think 9-win expectation with a getting respect back for your franchise would be a great season. That would be a winning season. That would be a winning year. Win the games you're supposed to win. Grab a couple of upsets. I don't think you're going to see a Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham, Tom McMahon, Pete Carroll team go lose a game with a stupid coaching decision. Every coach makes a bad decision. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the stupid decisions. And we've seen that more than our share. We've seen experienced coaches here that stubborn. They don't want to adapt to the talent they have. They want to. Everybody in the stadium knew what they were going to do, and it didn't work. You've seen blunders that made no sense. You've just seen a lot. And the fans of this franchise deserve better. And so when you look at 2025, it is literally the fight for respect in the 2025 Raiders. Come out of this season with a fired up fan base. I'm going to tell you something that I love about Raider fan. This team wins 9 games and you don't see the stupidity. This fan base is going to erupt and go through the roof. And the excitement level, they're going to show up. And if they play that way all year and they play the discipline, they'll get their home field advantage. It will come back. That ship's not sailed for good. Where I'm from in Michigan, we'd say, that dog don't hunt. Well, that home field advantage dog does hunt. But the team now has to do their part. The team has to go out and develop it, produce it, be it. That's the big one. Be it. Just don't say it. Be it. It's the fight for respect. That's the case for 2025. Hey, do me a favor. Make sure you're following me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Hondo Carpenter. On Threads and IG at Hondo SR, please. And as always, si.com/NFL/Raiders for your very best Raiders coverage. Ain't nobody covering this team better than us. Check it out, si.com/NFL/Raiders. Thanks, everybody.